She asked if she was better than me while in my bed and my brother heard everything, then it all fell apart. There is a video on a phone. A video that was never meant to be found. A video of a girl asking if she is better than the person whose bed she is currently in. And the person whose bed it is? She is standing right there holding that phone, watching every single second of it. That girl asking those questions is her boyfriend's newest favorite person. And that bed? That is her bed. In her house. Under her roof. So here is where this whole nightmare begins. Our narrator, a 20-year-old woman, is living with her 26-year-old brother Darren. They are sharing a family home and life is pretty normal until Darren brings home his new girlfriend Sage, 25 years old, who he has been dating for what sounds like barely any time at all. And with Sage comes the problem, because Sage does not show up alone in the way that matters. She shows up and immediately starts texting Cole. Cole being the narrator's own boyfriend of 1 year, 21 years old, who is also around the house regularly. He is there for dinners, lazy weekends, evenings on the couch. He is woven into the fabric of that home the way a boyfriend of a year tends to be. And from the very first day Sage walks through that door, the two of them are already building something behind everyone's backs. Not slowly. Not reluctantly. Immediately. Now the narrator and Darren had already started to notice something was off before this update post. They had a suspicion, a feeling, the kind of feeling that sits in your stomach and does not leave no matter how much you try to logic it away. The kind where you catch a look that lasts 1 second too long, or you notice that two people who barely know each other are suddenly very comfortable around each other very fast. They had posted about it before, asked Reddit for advice, read through the replies together, and even laughed at some of the wilder suggestions people had thrown out there. There is something both sad and strangely sweet about that image, two siblings trying to process a shared unease by crowdsourcing opinions from strangers on the internet. Darren apparently wanted to make sure the audience knew he was not taking certain advice, specifically the advice from those 2 or 3 people who suggested the siblings themselves get together, and he made an Alabama joke about it. Classic coping humor from a man who is about to find out his girlfriend has been sleeping with his little sister's boyfriend since the day she arrived. So the decision gets made. No cameras. Instead, the narrator goes through Cole's phone. And what she finds is not just suspicious. It is a complete and total timeline of betrayal laid out in text message form going all the way back to the first day Sage arrived. Picture what it feels like to scroll through that. Every date stamp a small confirmation. Every message a little door swinging open onto something you cannot close again. At first glance the messages look casual and normal. Just two people talking. But then the messages shift. They start including lines like he is asleep, come to the room, or she is gone, meet in the bathroom. Little logistical arrangements wrapped up in flirty language. Winking faces. Playful comments. The kind of texts that only mean one thing no matter how you try to read them charitably. The kind of texts that make your hands go cold. And then she finds the video. Not a hint of it. Not a reference to it. The actual video, sitting right there, sent and received and never deleted, because neither of them thought anyone would ever be looking. Sage had asked Cole to send her a video they had made together. And he did. Right there in the message thread, sitting in Cole's sent folder like it was nothing. Like it was a clip of a funny moment between friends. The narrator, by her own admission, watched it. She calls herself an idiot for doing it, and honestly that is a fair self-assessment, but also completely understandable because when you are standing at the edge of that kind of truth you almost have to see it all the way through. There is something about that moment, phone in hand, the room quiet around her, knowing what she is about to see and watching anyway, that is one of the loneliest feelings a person can have. What she sees is the two of them together. In her bed. Her sheets, her pillows, her space. And Sage, in the middle of all of it, keeps asking Cole whether she is better than the narrator. Keeps asking it over and over. Using a name that is not hers to ask. And Cole never answers. He just keeps recording and does not say a word back to her. You know what, the silence actually says everything. Because here is the thing about that silence. Cole does not answer Sage's question. Not once. And you could try to spin that as some sign that deep down he felt guilty or that he could not bring himself to say it, but that does not make anything better. It does not undo the video. It does not unring that bell. The narrator watches the whole thing, no condom, no pull-out, her bed, her name being used as a comparison point, and she has to just stand there holding that phone and sit with all of it. The weight of a full year of a relationship shifting and reshaping into something unrecognizable in the space of a few minutes. Most people would have thrown the phone across the room at that point. She sent the video to herself first. That is the level of composure we are working with here, and it is honestly impressive. After sending the video to her own phone, she does not delete anything. She does not confront anyone in the heat of the moment. She pauses. She breathes. She thinks about what she actually needs to do here instead of just reacting, which is harder than it sounds when you are standing in the middle of that kind of devastation. She sends the video to Darren, her brother, so that he knows too, and then the two of them confront Cole and Sage together that same night. There is real power in that, in not doing it alone, in making sure her brother is not blindsided either. And just like every cheater ever put on the spot in the history of people being terrible to each other, both Cole and Sage deny it immediately. Of course they do. That is the first instinct. Deny it, play confused, act offended that anyone would even suggest it. Until the narrator pulls out the video she saved to her own phone. And then the crying starts. Cole is crying. Sage is crying. The two people who spent who knows how many nights sneaking around a shared family home, lying to the faces of the two people who trusted them most, using that home as a place to film themselves, are now standing in the middle of their own exposure crying like they are the ones who have been wronged somehow. The audacity of those tears is something. The way shame and selfishness can wear the mask of grief and make the person who was actually hurt feel like they need to manage the room. I genuinely cannot with these two. Darren tells Sage she has 1 hour to get out. Sage immediately tries to play the logistics card. She lives 3 hours away. She has no car. Darren drove her there. She has nowhere to go. She lists every obstacle as if she is hoping one of them will land, as if the right combination of inconveniences will soften what just happened into something negotiable. She is treating a moral catastrophe like a scheduling conflict, and Darren is not having any part of it. And Darren, with the energy of a man who has just seen a video he can never unsee, tells her he does not care and that she needs to be gone within the hour. He says it clearly and directly. No raised voice needed, no drawn-out argument, just a door closing with full force behind every word. He tells her that going behind his back was one thing, but hurting his little sister crossed a line he was not willing to forgive. That is the kind of older brother energy that you keep around forever, the kind that does not waver when it matters most. Cole tries the standard cheater playbook with the narrator. He asks if they can talk. He brings up the year they spent together, as if the length of something makes the betrayal of it smaller. He tries to frame the relationship as something worth saving, as if the problem is just a misunderstanding that can be walked back with enough words. And she tells him she is done. No argument, no negotiation, no door left open. Done. Both of them leave the house that same night, and the narrator goes quiet until they are gone, and then she cries. Because of course she does. She held it together through all of it and then let herself feel it once they were actually gone. The full force of it, the whole year, the bed, the video, all of it landing at once now that she did not have to be strong for anyone. Darren cried a little too. Two siblings sitting in the wreckage of the same evening, not talking about what came next or what it all meant, just sitting together in a quiet house that felt different now, finding some comfort in each other because at the end of it all they still had each other. Now let us talk about the aftermath for a second, because it genuinely tells you everything you need to know about Cole as a person. He has no job. He has no car. He lives off his father's money and openly admits he does not really want a job. He is 21 years old and already fully committed to coasting through life on someone else's dime. The narrator spent a year with this person and is rightfully embarrassed about that. Not in a way that should make her feel bad because people hide who they really are all the time, but in the way where hindsight makes all those little things suddenly snap into focus. The cancelled plans, the vague answers, the way he was always available without any real explanation of what he was available from. Cole has been sliding into her direct messages on Instagram since he left. She leaves him on scene. Sage has also reached out to apologize and ask the narrator to tell Darren to call her. Which is genuinely one of the most audacious moves imaginable. You get kicked out within the hour after being caught cheating, and your follow-up plan is to contact the person you betrayed and ask her to mediate your way back to the man you were cheating with? The confidence required for that is truly something to behold. Here is the thing about Sage and Cole that gets more interesting the longer you sit with it. They confirmed the affair started the very first day she arrived. Not weeks in, not after some slow build of chemistry that neither of them could resist. Day 1. Cole was in a year-long relationship from day 1. Darren was falling for this woman from day 1. And both Cole and Sage looked at those two people who trusted them and shared a home with them, and decided immediately that they were fine with all of it. They made that calculation quickly and without apparent struggle. That is not a moment of weakness. That is a choice, made clearly and early, and then repeated over and over again every time one of them texted the other to meet while the other two were asleep. And what makes it worse, genuinely worse, is the location. Not just the house. The bed. Her bed specifically. Out of every room, every surface, every place in that house they could have chosen, they chose her bed and they filmed it there. That is not accidental. That is not just the closest available space. That is a choice that carries a specific kind of cruelty in it, whether they were conscious of it or not. It says something about the total absence of respect, the complete comfort with using someone else's most personal space as their own. Here's what I want to say about the verdict on these two, and I mean every word of this. Cole was not a good partner who made one bad mistake. He was a person who got into a relationship with someone, let that relationship continue for a full year, and simultaneously pursued and continued a physical affair with someone who arrived in their shared home. He used every excuse in the cheater handbook when he got caught, and his concern in that moment was not about the harm he caused but about preserving his own comfortable situation. A situation where he had no job, no car, no real responsibilities, and a girlfriend providing stability while he did exactly what he wanted. Sage walked into that house as a guest, a girlfriend of the narrator's own brother, and she took the hospitality offered to her and turned it into something calculated and selfish from day 1. And then when she got caught and kicked out, she had the nerve to reach back out and ask for intervention on her behalf. There is no version of that behavior that deserves a second chance, a callback, or even a reply. The sheer nerve of it, the assumption that her apology would be received warmly and then passed along like a favor, is its own kind of answer about who Sage is as a person. The narrator handled every single moment of this with more dignity and composure than either of those two people deserved. She confirmed the truth, preserved the evidence, stood firm in the confrontation, and did not let Cole's tears or his speech about their year together move her even slightly. She cried privately, let her brother comfort her, and closed that door cleanly. That is not just a breakup. That is someone recognizing their own worth clearly enough to act on it even when it hurts. And Darren, who kicked someone out within the hour because hurting his sister was a line he would not allow to be crossed, that is the kind of loyalty that actually matters. Those two have each other and that is genuinely enough. She planned every single accidental run-in for months and now I cannot stop replaying all of it. Every single time he thought it was just a happy coincidence, she already knew he was going to be there. The grocery store. The coffee trail. The lost phone. She knew all of it in advance, every single time, and he had no idea until 3 years and an engagement ring later she accidentally told him the whole story while drinking wine on his back patio. Let us start from the very beginning because the setup here is important. About 3 years ago, a 28-year-old man, we will call him our narrator, moves to a new city for work. He finds a house that checks every box. Pool because he loves swimming. Running trail around the neighborhood because he loves running outside. He settles in, keeps to himself for the first month, exchanges polite waves with the neighbors, and is generally just doing the introvert in a new city thing where you are pleasant but not yet connected to anyone around you. He is building a life from scratch in a place where nobody knows his name yet, and there is something quietly vulnerable about that period that matters for understanding everything that comes after. Then 2 women knock on his door. Kim and her sister Lisa. Lisa lives across the street with her husband and their kids, and Kim is visiting. They introduce themselves and make small talk. The narrator notes in retrospect that the conversation seemed designed to figure out whether he was single. Whether he had a girlfriend waiting inside. Whether he was available. Questions were slipped in naturally, conversationally, the way you ask them when you do not want the other person to know you are asking. At the time he did not read it that way at all. He was just a new neighbor meeting people, relieved that someone was being friendly, probably a little grateful for the human contact after a month of keeping to himself. They invite him to a 4th of July cookout and he says he might stop by. July 4th comes and he is planning to stay home. Then Kim and Lisa show up at his door again and basically plead with him to come over for a burger. He goes. He stays for a couple of hours. The yard is warm and loud with kids and the smell of charcoal and somebody's speaker playing something forgettable in the background. Kim asks him a lot of questions. She is engaged, attentive, laughing at the right moments, the kind of conversationalist who makes you feel like what you are saying is genuinely interesting. He spends most of that time just answering them, talking about himself, sharing his interests, his routine, the things he enjoys. And Kim, as we will come to understand, is taking very careful notes on all of it. After the cookout, something starts to happen. He begins seeing Kim everywhere. At the grocery store near the neighborhood. At the coffee shop he starts going to regularly. Every single time she sees him she initiates a conversation. She always seems happy to see him, never rushed, never distracted. And he thinks this is just what it looks like when you live in the same neighborhood as someone friendly. You run into each other. That is a normal thing that happens. He has no reason to question it because nothing about it feels off. It feels pleasant. It feels like community. He has no idea that behind each of those smiling moments is a calendar, a routine he does not remember sharing, and a woman who has been paying very close attention. Then there is the trail moment. He is out on a run, earbuds in, probably 20 minutes into his usual loop, when Kim flags him down. She looks a little flustered, a little apologetic for stopping him. She says she lost her phone and asks if he can call it. He calls, nothing rings nearby. She then asks him to walk with her along the trail to help look for it. He agrees without hesitation because of course he does. You help people you know. They walk for about 15 minutes together, the neighborhood quiet around them except for birds and the occasional car passing on the road beyond the tree line. He keeps calling the number. She keeps scanning the ground. They talk while they search. Eventually they find the phone under some leaves a little way off the path. He probably felt good about that. Helpful neighbor solves a problem, everybody goes home happy. Except the phone was not lost. The lunch happens shortly after. Kim offers to take him out as a thank you for helping her find the phone that was never actually missing. He says yes, sees no reason not to. They go to lunch and discover they have similar interests and good conversation chemistry. Something clicks that day in a way that feels effortless and real, because from his side of the table it is effortless and real. He is not performing anything. He is not working toward anything. He is just a person having lunch with someone he likes talking to. And from there the relationship develops naturally. Dating, then serious dating, then she moves in with him about a year ago, then 4 months ago he proposes and she says yes. 3 years. A shared home. An engagement. All of it built on a foundation that started with Kim and her sister sitting down and working out a strategy to get this man to notice her. Here is the thing though. He does not find out any of this from Kim. He finds out because of wine, a cheating scandal that had nothing to do with him, and a back patio conversation that he was only half paying attention to while he got the pool ready for summer. Kim's friend had just found out her boyfriend was cheating. The friend comes over, they drink wine, they process the betrayal the way friends do with a lot of justified anger and solidarity. Kim asks the narrator to bring them more wine and he does. And when he comes back they are talking about him, which is fine, complimentary even. But then the friend says something like, "I just need to start stalking a good one like yours." And Kim, laughing, wine glass in hand, relaxed and warm and completely unguarded in the way people get when the evening has gone on long enough, says she can teach a stalking to get your man course. And then she does exactly that. She describes how she figured out his schedule. When he ran. When he went to the grocery store. When he went to the coffee shop. How she would engineer being there. How it can take a while, but if you are patient and keep showing up the opportunity will come. She and her sister came up with the lost phone plan on the trail together as a way to finally force a real one-on-one conversation. She tells this story with the ease of someone who has long since made peace with it, like it is just a charming piece of their origin story that she has been quietly holding onto for 3 years. He hears all of this from behind the sliding glass door and has to carry it through an entire evening with the friends staying over before he can even bring it up. I need you to sit with that for a moment. The next morning after the friend leaves he asks Kim about it directly. His voice is probably calm because he has had all night to move past the initial shock and into something colder and more deliberate. She tries to play it off as a joke first. Then, when he does not let it go, she admits it. Yes, she figured out his schedule. Yes, she engineered the run-ins. Yes, the phone on the trail was a planned setup that she and her sister coordinated together. She had been trying for months to get him to notice her and ask her out, and when that was not working they came up with the phone plan as a more direct approach. Kim does not see the big deal. She thinks it is kind of a funny story. She has apologized, but she does not really understand why he is upset. She looks at him with an expression that probably sits somewhere between affection and genuine confusion, because in her version of events she liked someone, she found a way to make something happen, and the result was 3 beautiful years and a ring on her finger. And that gap in understanding, that is actually the most unsettling part of this entire story. Because here is where it gets genuinely complicated. There is a version of this story where someone has a crush, tries to create organic opportunities to connect, and eventually the connection happens and everything is fine. People manufacture situations to meet people they are interested in all the time. Ask a friend to introduce you. Show up to events where someone you like might be. That is not stalking in the serious legal sense, and it is not inherently predatory behavior. But there is a meaningful line between putting yourself in someone's orbit and systematically mapping a stranger's daily movements for months so you can be present for all of them without their knowledge or consent. Kim did not just show up at a party where she knew he would be. She was tracking his routine with enough precision to be at the grocery store at the right time, the coffee shop at the right time, the trail at the right time, every time. And she did it quietly, without telling him, for months. And then the phone plan. That is not an organic moment of chemistry. That was a coordinated operation between her and her sister designed to create a 15-minute forced proximity moment on a trail with a man who had no idea what was happening. The narrator is now second-guessing everything. And that is a completely rational response to what he has learned. Because when you find out that the foundation of a relationship was built on a pattern of behavior the other person deliberately concealed from you, you have to go back and reinterpret every moment you thought you understood. Every grocery store run-in that felt like fate. Every coffee shop encounter that felt like the universe nudging you together. Every warmth you felt about how organically things developed. It was not organic. It was orchestrated. And you did not know you were a participant in someone else's plan. Here is what I think, and I am going to be direct about it. Kim did something that crossed a line, and the fact that it worked and that the relationship turned out to be genuinely good does not retroactively make the method okay. The outcome does not clean up the process. A good relationship requires that both people choose it with full information, and the narrator was never given the choice to opt in or out of being someone's long-term project. He was managed into this relationship through a series of manufactured moments, and the person who did that to him does not currently understand why that matters. That lack of understanding is a real problem. Not because Kim is a bad person necessarily, because people can do misguided things without being fundamentally bad, but because the way she is responding to his discomfort right now is telling. She apologized, but she does not see the issue. She calls it a course she could teach. She laughed about it with her friend. She carried this information through 3 years of a serious relationship and an engagement and never once thought he deserved to know. The fact that she is framing his reaction as an overreaction rather than genuinely sitting with why it upset him is the thing that should concern him most going forward. What he needs right now is not just an apology. He needs Kim to actually understand what she took from him when she made those choices. He needs her to reckon with the fact that his sense of the relationship was based on a version of events that was not true, and that learning the truth now means he has to rebuild his understanding of everything that came before. That is not a small ask. That is a real process, and it deserves real patience and genuine honesty from her. If Kim can do that work, if she can move past defending herself and actually sit with the weight of his experience, then this relationship has ground to stand on. If she cannot, if she continues to treat his discomfort as an overreaction to a funny story, then the narrator has learned something important about who she is and how she handles accountability. He should not make a permanent decision from a place of fresh shock. But he should absolutely take this seriously, take his time, and require more from her than a reluctant admission and a shrug. Drop a comment below and tell me which story hit you harder, the cheating caught on video or the stalking confession on the back patio. If you made it this far, a like and subscribe would mean the world.